Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to my 2024 library tour. In this episode, I continue with my history collection. Excuse me. This episode sees the second shelf of my headboard bookcase. The books on this particular shelf are here randomly. Um, so let's get going because there are more books here than there were on the upper shelf. Obviously, because those books were considerably larger physically. Anyway, the first book. Oh, sorry about that. This bookcase really is not meant for books larger than mass market paperbacks. Anyway, so the first book on this bookshelf or bookshelf, um, it sort of has a similar theme to the first book I showed you yesterday, Soviet history. This is Collapse: The Fall of the Soviet Union by Vladislav M. Zubak. So this is a history of the final years of the Soviet Union. It is the definitive, at least for now and for the foreseeable future, history of the um, last years of the Soviet Union. I've had several goes at this book, and I've largely built at the same spot. So I think the subject matter, the style really doesn't connect with me. Another book that I have struggled to read is The Opium War by Julia Lovell. So this is a history of the first Opium War and its after effects that have lingered in Chinese-British relations for centuries afterwards. I had to go at this 2 years ago, and I ended up having to bail on the book because I had a mental issue around that time. And when I tried to come back to it, I didn't want to. So yeah. Next book I have not gotten to, and that is Royal Renegades: The Children of Charles I and the English Civil Wars by Linda Porter. Nor have I gotten to The Iron Kingdom: The Rise and Downfall of Prussia, 1600 to 1947 by Christopher Clark. I have a number of Christopher Clark's uh, works in my collection, and all of them in different forms. Yet another book I have um, not read. Another book that I have not yet read is Children of the Night: The Strange and Epic Story of Modern Romania by Paul Kenyon. So this is Romania after communist rule. And I have not read Darkness Falling: The Strange Death of the Weimar Republic, 1930 to 1933 by Peter Walther. Um, I think this is a work in translation. Yes, translated from the German by Peter Lewis. I have quite a number of lead up to World War II books, and also several works of German history and translation. In fact, we saw one yesterday. Actually, two, because I think the Soviet century is also in. So back to the Bells with Lost Paradise: The Story of Grenada by Elizabeth Drayson. So this is a history of the Spanish province of Grenada. I thought this book was going to be about Grenada under Muslim rule and its eventual conquest by um, Isabella and Ferdinand. However, it's the whole history of Grenada, and it comes off a bit as a travel log, which was kind of annoying. We finally come to a book I liked, and that is The Dark Queens by Shelley Puhak. So this is a joint biography of two Merovingian queens, Brunhild and Fredegund, who um, became bitter rivals as the queens to two warring brothers. It's quite history as soap opera. I also rather liked 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed by Eric H. Klein. So this history does a number of things. One, it looks at the ancient Near East in the centuries before the Bronze Age collapse. It also looks at the history of the theorizing about the Bronze Age collapse and also the archaeology of the Bronze Age collapse, and sort of comes to the conclusion that the Bronze Age collapse was caused by all of the above, or some combination of all of the various theories. The next book I have not read, and that is Lost Kingdom, A History of Russian Nationalism from Ivan the Great to Vladimir Putin by Serhiy Plokhy. I did rather like this next book. Survivors, Children's Lives After the Holocaust by Rebecca Clifford. So this is a study of Jewish orphans who survived the Holocaust and follows their lives in the decades since World War II. This next book I have bailed on, and that is Queen Victoria's Matchmaking, The Royal Marriages That Shaped Europe by Deborah Cadbury. I just did not connect with the writing at all. The next chunk of books I have not gotten to. Rights of Peace, The Fall of Napoleon and the Congress of Vienna by Adam Zamoyski. Gulag by Anne Applebaum. The War of Wars, The Epic Struggle Between Britain and France, 1789 to 1815 by Robert Harvey. This next book I am quite fond of. Blood and Iron, The Rise and Fall of the German Empire, 1871 to 1918 by Katja Hoyer. So this is a study of the formation of the German Empire and its history and its eventual dissolution. Sorry, with all this coughing, I probably need a drink after this. Next is City of Fortune, How Venice Won and Lost the Naval Empire by Roger Crowley. Have not yet gotten to. Nor have I gotten to more histories of him. This is a duology, the Hitler years, the first volume is Triumph 1933 to 1939. I also have the second volume, The Hitler Years, Disaster 1940 to 1945, also by Frank McDonough. The next book I have failed on Empress, Queen Victoria in India by Miles Taylor. I just really did not get on with the writing. The next three books are by Tom Holland, the historian, not the actor. First up is Dynasty, the rise and fall of the House of Caesar. So this is a dynasty biography of the Julio Claudians. It's okay. It's engagingly written, perhaps a bit too credulous with the sources, which as you read this book, you will kind of realize that basically the sources that we have are not much different than the National Enquirer, except for perhaps better written. I also have Persian Fire, which is about the Greco-Persian Wars. I bought on this one fairly quickly because I realized as I was reading the book that while Holland may have a strong grasp of the Greek sources and perhaps even the Greek sources on Persia, he doesn't really have much of a grasp on the Persian sources. And that really bugs me. And I have not gotten to Dominion, the making of the Western mind, which I'm not entirely sure I will actually get to. This is largely the story of Christianity, the Christianization of Europe and of Christianity, and I don't know. I mean, I picked this up largely because there's a story I've had it at the back of my mind for several years, and I was hoping this book might be a useful sort of research volume or inspiration, and I'm fairly confident this book is going to annoy me. The next two books I have not gotten to, The Age of Wonder, How the Romantic Generation Discovered the Beauty and Terror of Science by Richard Holmes. The Peace That Never Was, A History of the League of Nations by Ruth Hennig. I have read this next one, History of South Africa by Frank Walsh, and it's okay. Although hopefully there will be a better history of South Africa written. I have not gotten to Tudor England by John Guy. I bailed on The First Kingdom, Britain in the Age of Arthur by Max Adams. I just really did not like the style of this book at all. And I am quite fond of this final book, Dictatorland, The Men Who Stole Africa by Paul Kenyon. So this is a look at various African dictators throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. And it is fascinating and harrowing. So that concludes the headboard bookcase. Over the course of this following work week, I will be moving to the first of the bookcases. So until I see you next time, BookTube, thank you. Have a great rest of your day and stay safe.